We'll call the meeting to order. I would like to begin by acknowledging that we are in Treaty 1 territory in the traditional homeland of the Métis Nation. I'll introduce the panel members. Tracy Anderson to the far left, Diane Knight sitting to my left. I'm Marcel Laurando. I'll be chairing. The assessor today will be Matthew Barakis, and the administrative assistant today will be Kelsey Harrison. We'll be hearing applications for revision of assessment roll in accordance with the Municipal Assessment Act. The matters for which revision is requested have been described in each application, and we will limit discussions to those matters. The statements that applicants or the assessor make at this hearing are sworn testimony, and anyone speaking to the matter must be sworn in. Be advised that comparisons of assessment of properties are not considered evidence of market value by the Board of Revision. The Board of Revision is appointed annually by Council and is independent of it and the City Administration. It makes its decisions on the basis of the evidence presented at this hearing and issues a written order that will be mailed to all parties as soon as possible. Please note that the Board's decision with respect to an application may be appealed to the Manitoba Municipal Board if the matter pertains to assessed value or classification, or the Court of Queen's Bench if the matter pertains to exemptions from taxation. Should you wish to appeal, information on how to do so will be included with the Board order. With respect to the hearing process, I will confirm the matters to be addressed with each applicant following the swearing in. We will then have the assessor's testimony followed by questions that the applicant may have, and then the applicant's testimony followed by questions. Each side will have an opportunity to summarize if they wish. Once all the evidence about an application has been brought forward, the applicant may leave. The process will repeat for each item on the docket today. The session will close after all the applications have been heard, and the Board will deliberate in private and make its decisions. You'll receive the order by registered mail as soon as possible. As information, all public hearings are live streamed, recorded, and will be part of the public record. Swear to me, please. Phones on silent. Ready, stand.
Do you swear in or affirm?
Affirm.
Could you please state your name?
Matthew Barakis.
And do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you. Could you please state your name?
Jared Story.
And do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Thank you. 567 William Avenue. When you are ready, Matthew.
All right. File number 19-2340. Roll number 13070294000. 567 William Avenue, located between Sherbrooke and Isabel, just west of Kate Street. Property, one building, 3 stories, actually year built 1905, effective year built 1918 on it. 6 suites, 2 outdoor parking spots. Construction class D, wood or steel frame exterior walls on this one. They're compliant with the mailers on page 2. Page 3, you'll see our modeled breakdown. As per age, area, and size, it gets a 6.1 cap. Last time the Board of Revision, 2018, it was confirmed at 293,000, and they used a 6% cap on it. So we're pretty much the same. Model parameters, rent comparables here are found on page 4 in the area, and I also have a CMHC calculation based on using the tables found on page 4A. Just glancing ahead, it looks like the applicant and I are virtually identical in terms of net operating income, so for the purpose of time, I'm not going to dwell too much on the income and expense side of the coin. So we have our capitalization rate chart here on page 4B. It's got 4 sales on the third group of properties down. They're not specific to this comparable or any other comparable. It's just they look at the accuracy of the model and substantiate the model-derived capitalization rates. Our typical cap rate chart is on page 5. The property here, it's owned by Winnipeg Housing Rehabilitation Corporation. It's a not-for-profit. So you see on page 7 that they get mortgage and tax subsidies. So we go to market. We don't look at the actuals because they're not run on a for-profit basis. Like I said, the net operating income we agree on. So as per age, area, and size, this has been given a 6% cap rate, 6.1% cap rate last time around. It was confirmed with a 6% cap rate. That's my submission. Thank you.
Any questions of the assessor?
Yeah, just a few, thank you. Okay, so effectively we're just arguing cap rate today. This is a social housing asset, so we'll stick to the cap rate issues. So again, we're in the Centennial area. Are you familiar with the area?
Yes.
Okay, did you look into any of the census data around the area?
No, I don't.
Okay, are you aware that the average household and median income are about half of the citywide average?
Well, it wouldn't surprise me.
Okay, so it's safe to say that this is what we might call an economically depressed part of town.
Yeah.
Okay, now, when we look at cap rate is effectively the numerical expression of risk. So if we're in an area that's economically depressed, and part of the cap rate is that risk and the principle of anticipation of the durability of the income stream going forward, would you feel confident as an investor, or would you feel uneasy as an investor given the location of this house?
I would feel that a 6.1 cap rate is probably right.
Okay. Okay. So in social housing, is it safe to say, we can make some assumptions, generally there's limited vacancy, because the rents are subsidized, but the asset doesn't generate any economic profit, is that correct?
It's not run on a for-profit basis.
So it doesn't generate economic profit because that becomes reinvested in the asset like a typical apartment would, correct?
It's not run like a typical apartment.
Okay. And these assets are generally under what we'll call a limited dividend agreement, correct?
I don't know.
Basically, you mentioned the CMHC, there are mortgages underwritten by the CMHC. Those agreements tend to last for about 35 years.
And HRC, they have a tax subsidy and a mortgage subsidy.
Their mortgage is underwritten by CMHC with the agreement, this is a limited.
Here's where you ask questions, not giving the answers.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, that's fine. Now, the actual year built is 1905, is that correct?
Yes, that's what we have.
And the effective year is 1918. Can you tell us what gave rise to that change in effective age?
Okay, so looking at my notes, I don't have anything. Just glancing at the picture of the place on your brief. I'm not trying to skip ahead too much here, but it looks like it has been maintained. It's not good surprising if they didn't do anything in the past 100 years to keep the place up. So it's got a small effective age put on it, and that effective age wouldn't change the cap rate grouping it's in any sense.
Okay, so this is by looking at this, you can tell this is likely a conversion, is that correct?
It looks like it, yeah.
Okay, and would a conversion generally carry a higher or lower cap rate?
We don't have any sort of that being recognized in our model.
Okay, so the model is capturing age, area, and location?
Yes.
And so no consideration is given to the social housing component of this asset? Okay, that's fine. We're not arguing rent, so it's okay. Now your cap rates. Of course, we've done this a number of times, but you're aware by now that the first three, 191 Rogue, 394 Talbot, and 285 Maxwell were purchased with the intention to renovate, is that correct?
That's what you guys have put forth. There's also, we got sales mailers saying they bought it for around what our cap rate's calculating it at.
And I have rebuttal.
Yeah, I got that.
They've both got a rebuttal. Put it in. I think we've all seen it. So.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
But make sure the secretary has it at least.
Okay.
So it's on file.
Okay, that's fine. Now, so the only cap rate that I think is reasonable here is Ward. We're all aware of that, but just for sake of argument here, the brokers, you've included their information here as well. we have Collier, CBRE, and Cushman Wakefield. Now, the city doesn't differentiate between low-rise A, low-rise B, high-rise or low-rise, but the brokers do, and they tend to, is it correct that they would tend to use investment-grade properties for the sake of developing this cap rate table that you've included in your evidence?
Oh, I have not. I wasn't involved in putting together the CBRE reports.
Right, okay, but you've included it in your evidence, and it does show us that for investment-grade properties, I think it's safe to say this is a low-rise B.
You're starting to give them the answers again.
Okay, fair enough. All right. Okay, so let me ask you, what was the purpose of including this broker study?
This is to show that, based on what they're reporting, they fall within, we'll look at our percentiles here. It's just under 5 to just over 5, and that's within the ranges. Cushman Wakefield, you see for high-rise, they've got 4.75. So just to show how we are similar to...
That's for high-rises?
Yeah, so it's just to show how, in general, like this is in all our reports, right? So
It's not, because it's not investment-grade high-rise, is it?
no, but you're not letting me finish on. It's just to show how our cap rates are similar to what other major outfits are reporting.
So you're showing a low-rise B going from 4 to 7.3, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, those are my questions, thank you.
Tracy, any questions?
No question, Mr. Chair.
Diane, do you have any questions?
None for me.
We're going to start with the one question. Have you visited the properties, any of them
I have
today?
not visited any of the properties.
Have you visited any of the
All of
properties?
them.
Oh, you have? Good stuff. Let's get on with your presentation.
Thanks. Okay, 567 William Avenue. This is a converted home. This is the corner of, basically one building up the corner of Kate and William. So it's going to go sort of so he's suggesting an assessment of $332,000. We're suggesting a more appropriate assessment is $302,000. And again, this boils down to cap rate. We do not see any reason to extend or to agree with the age variance the city has put on, but regardless, our table would indicate, based on our study, would indicate that a cap rate of 6.25 to 6.6 is appropriate. So, for the purposes of this exercise, again, because it is social housing, we have agreed with the potential gross market rents that the city's put forward. They're based on CMHC, so that seems reasonable to us. So we're starting at the same starting point, $50,000, $45, even though the asset is averaging $23,000.
You can just go down to the cap.
Okay, that's fine. So when we capitalize our NOI at $20,360 with a 6.75 cap, and again, that's a 6.25 cap with a 50 basis point adjustment for social housing. That gives us an indicated market value of $301,626, and so we are requesting a rounded value that should not exceed $302,000 for the purposes of this exercise. Thank you.
Questions?
Just on cap, I'm submitting just my rebuttal here.
Yeah. Mr. Story's rebuttal to it, same thing.
Submitted by copy.
And do they apply to all of them?
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you have a copy for each file?
Actually, no, I don't.
We'll make sure you have them. Save your copies if you don't need them.
No scribbling?
Hmm?
No scribbling?
No scribbling.
Okay, gotcha.
Did you want to speak to that?
Just basically, that's just an example of two of the properties. There's one on Beach, there's one on the first property, I believe it's St. Mary's.
This is the same paper.
It's the same paper I always hand out, so I'm not gonna, it's just to show that they're declaring lower caps than what's in the Altus cap rate study.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna go through it again. That's, I'm just submitting it here now.
And this is the same one.
Same one, and I will-
You've already talked.
So there's no calculations.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so just in
Now you got questions on his.
just the report itself, yeah. You've inspected this property?
I've been outside. We don't tend to go inside for the most part.
Did it have new windows?
I don't believe so. I looked at the permits and I didn't see anything. I would be guessing. I'm not sure.
Need permits for windows.
And do you know if they've redone the inside of the place recently?
I would suggest they haven't, but I'm not certain. I don't believe so, though, no.
And so just in case you added 0.5 of a point
Yeah.
for cap, for it being WHRC, can you get a little more specific in regards to what that
Absolutely.
comes from?
Yeah, so the purpose of the exercise today is to do a site-specific analysis on this property as though it were performing in the free and open market. Any investor will look at let's start from the beginning. These social housing assets are generally not achieving any sort of economic profit. Any investor would look at that and see that as a negative. We're not able to reinvest back into the property or maintain it to a standard, nor do we have to because it's social housing. Social housing tends to be Winnipeg housing rehabilitation core assets tend to be assets that have reached the end of their effective useful economic life and been repurposed as a shelter asset. So that would be something that somebody would consider as well. So there's location, there's age, there's utility, and there's also, as I mentioned, there's a limited dividend agreement that comes with most of these, if not all of these assets, that runs with the property, not the owner. So that would be a concern as well. So that would keep the rents low for a period of forever, however much longer is left on this agreement. So all those factors taken into consideration, if your 50 basis point adjustment on the free and open market is likely conservative, but that's how we approach these assets.
Well, we are looking at it as its value as a for-profit entity.
We're looking at the market value, correct? Willing buyer, willing seller, based on what we assume the rents it might generate would be on the open market.
Those are my questions. Thank you.
Tracy?
No question.
Diane?
When did it last sell and for what price?
That's a good question. I don't have a history of sales on it. The assessor doesn't either.
I don't either.
I'm not sure. Sometimes these assets are just.
I understand that.
That's it. Thank you very much. That concludes that matter. Let's move on to the next one, 270 Kirby. When you are ready, Matthew. What are you doing? You're going to do a...
Yeah, I got an on-call on this one.
Really?
Okay.
Are you arguing? You're not arguing? Not arguing.
No,
Go
okay.
start. Go for it.
270 Kirby. Sorry. Oh, may I proceed?
Yep, you can. Just let her know that we're agreeing with the
Oh, okay. Got it.
city.
Okay, 270 Furby Street. So this building was built in 1960. It's 2 stories. It has some basement units, and it has 11 one-bedroom suites. It suggests that that's not an optimal suite mix. The city is suggesting a value ought to be $1,145,000. We're suggesting a value of $897,000. So the subject is located south of Portage Avenue to the north and Broadway to the south between Sherbrooke and Langside. This is the West Broadway neighborhood. The improvement is a 2-story building with an effective age, according to the city, of 1975. It's presently being used as a multiple-family residential building. And the site size, according to the City of Winnipeg Property and Taxation Department records, is 6,138 square feet, and it's zoned R2. And again, it has 11 one-bedroom suites. So the assessor is using a capitalization rate of 4.7. We are disputing that cap rate and suggesting instead of a cap rate of 6% is more reasonable. Now we've agreed the non-compliance. We have not received the mailers either, so we are deferring to the modeling for the purposes of this valuation exercise. So effectively, we're arguing the cap rate. The MSA is at 4.7. We are at 6. Capitalized with a 6% cap rate and NOI of $53,820, we come to an indicated market value of $897,000. I request that the board adjust the assessment accordingly. Thank you.
Any questions? Matthew?
This is the questions I typically ask in regards to their overall cap rate statement in regards to the RM. I've heard them before. I asked those be applied to this property, so it looks like we're just dealing with cap here. Have you inspected this property?
I've not been inside, no, I haven't passed it.
It's like it's just in Wolseley?
No, this is West Broadroom. It's on Furby Street.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't have any questions. Thanks.
Diane, do you have any questions?
No, sir.
Tracy?
No questions, thank you.
No questions. Move on to the next one.
Oh, I gotta give my presentation.
Oh, I thought you'd already done. I'm not used to you one second.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, so yeah, file number 19-3858, rule number 120906011000270 Furby. Res Ave, actually year built 1960, effective year built 1975. Let's see. So, looking at this property, it's got 11 suites, 10 outdoor parking spots, construction class D, wood or steel frame walls. Looks like cap is what we're talking about here. Last time around at the border revision, they cut it from $1,078,000 to $985,000. Oh, sorry, yeah, $1,078,000 to $985,000. They used a 5 3/4 cap on it. Just to give you some background on that. So, looking at this property, if you go to page 12, you'll see that we've got a permit here, 2011, 131,000, interior alterations, 11 suite, 2-story apartment building permit to include replacement of windows and doors within existing openings. Then you've got inspection photos from August 2013. Basically shows that the property has been renovated on the inside. So that would be the effective age on this property. So it's this property in regards to our cap. We have a 4.7 cap on it. It's got a 1975 effective year built on it. If it was, the effective year built was 1 year less, it would be in the lower category. And for a property that size, that would change it from 4.7 to 5.1, which if you did that, I could understand. Because it's right on the border, and 4.7 does seem low. Though it has been renovated. So someone did deem it a worthy enough investment to sink some money into. That's my evidence, thank you.
Questions?
Yep, okay. That's fine. So again, according to your cap rate study, the break is between 1974 and 1975?
Yeah.
And that, okay, so most of the apartments in the city of Winnipeg were built between 1970 and 1980. And that's under a federal incentive grant, so does it make logical sense to you to have a break in that between those two vintages?
That's how it was modeled. I wasn't part of that process.
Okay, so this asset has 11 suites and they're all one bedroom. The city suggests that one of the impediments to value is a poor suite mix. Would you say this is a poor suite mix?
Well, it's reflected in the level of rent that it gets.
Okay, and would an investor apply a higher cap rate based on that suite mix, do you think?
And not in this neighborhood, I don't think so. I think there's probably a lot of people who just have the desire for a one-bedroom potentially.
Okay, do you think it's a desirable neighborhood to invest in for an investor?
Well, it's not for nothing. It's near Wolseley, and that's a nice area. And walking distance there, it's walking distance towards Osborne Village.
Okay, that's fine. Now, okay. Now, all of your inputs here are modeled, correct?
Yes.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, those are my questions. Thank you.
Any questions?
No, sir.
Tracy?
No questions?
Okay, now we're done. Next property, item number 6, it's 35 Balmoral. When you are ready, Matthew.
Okay, file number 19-2366, roll number 12091464000, 35 Balmoral Street, assessed value $2,158,000. Last go around, it was reduced from $2,061,000 to $1,876,000, and they used a 5 1/4 cap on that.
What was the cap they used?
5 1/4. So, 35 Balmoral, built in 61, one building, 3 stories, 27 suites. It says here 17 indoor parking, 8 outdoor parking, construction class C, masonry, bearing walls. So for this one, we are slightly off on the net operating income. Page 2, looking good, handing mailers in. Page 3, you'll see our model breakdown, property, 3 bachelor, 18 1 bedroom, 6 2 bedroom. With the 5.3 cap as per age, area, and size. Page 4 shows the rental comps, and they're all on Yonge Street, just pretty much in the exact same area there. There's like a bike path that goes down that way if you've ever ridden down there from across from the Forks. So it's right near the comps. Look to support the average monthly rent per unit of the subject property that's been applied. They're all built around the same time, and 2 of them have bachelors, 2 of them do not. We're below all of them in terms of average monthly rent, so our rent is supported. Cap rate chart 4A and 5. You see the mailer on page 7, and it shows its net operating income here is $130,000. Something to note though, maintenance and repair, they don't show anything. That's not typical. So one thing that is also atypical, if you go to page 10, looking at current condition. So it says 35, this is an ad from Asteroid, 35 and 41 Balmoral. The bottom says about this property, located just north of Osborne Village and next to the Great West Life Building, great area within walking distance. Osborne, 2 sister buildings have been upgraded in 2018. New elevators, mechanical systems.
When in 2018?
Pardon?
When in 2018?
I wish I knew.
Could be post, right?
But we are looking at current condition, right? So if it was upgraded in 18, but we're looking at 17 figures on an older condition, then those numbers wouldn't be applicable to the building as it stands today. So new windows, completely updated suites, updated flooring, kitchens with dishwashers, bathrooms, ceramics, new lighting, covered and secure parking. This property does need to be inspected for that reason, based on what they are telling us is going on there, because we don't have an effective age on this property, and they warrant an effective age based on the description in the advertising. So no change was made to this property. You can see the pictures. Now, these are taken from the ad. The ad was for 41 and 35. The ad did say that both buildings have been upgraded in 2018. Now, You see I've marked 41 and 35. 41 is also, it's next. So I don't know which building these pictures are from, but the ad did say that both buildings were renovated, and these were the pictures in the ad. So basically what I'm saying is the mailer in 2017 and mailers prior to it don't have any bearing on what an investor would look at purchasing this property in its current condition, which is what we're looking at today. So I didn't make a change to this property.
Your last page gives you the date, basically.
Oh, does it? May 18. So there we go. Next.
Questions, Mr. Story?
Yes, so you include these photos, but you don't know which building we're looking at?
Yeah, it was impossible. They didn't mark off which one was which.
Okay, that's fine. So 35 Balmoral, now this is in the West Broadway area again, correct?
Yeah, there's a map on page 10
Yeah.
at the bottom. It's not too far from Sherbrooke there in Wolseley.
Okay, and you're saying this is a desirable neighborhood?
That's what the ad's saying.
Oh, well, I mean, I would imagine it would, wouldn't it? No, so you're aware that at the reference date, right before the reference date in March, the residents of the West Broadway area asked the Bear Plan to step in and help with the issues that were going around in the area regarding sort of the crisis with drugs and crime. Are you aware of that?
Yeah, drugs and crime are everywhere, man.
Okay, but you're aware that the Bear Plan is only in 3 areas of town?
I don't know. I'm not
Okay,
associated.
but would that give you some pause as an investor?
Well, they sure poured a lot of, looks like they poured a lot of money into it, so it didn't provide them with that much pause.
Okay. They own the building, though, right?
Yeah, and they were trying to.
Fair enough. And whatever they did here didn't affect the useful economic life, did it?
Well, we didn't have this to our knowledge until this appeal came across the table. So.
Okay. So the building was built in 1961, and we've agreed the effective year is 1961 as well.
Well,
right?
that's the modeled effective year. Maybe after an inspection, now would change.
Okay. Now you do have the mailers, and we are doing a site-specific analysis of this asset. So you're suggesting that the average monthly rent per unit is $785.60. That's modeled, correct?
Yeah.
And you're aware that the actual is $669 per month average? Based on the
Pre-renovation mailers say that.
Yeah, the renovation is post-reference, correct?
That we're looking at the current condition.
What does the current condition have to do with the income stream of the reference date?
Well, we're looking at the current condition of the property
Right.
as per the reference date.
Right.
That's how it works.
But the income stream at the reference date?
No,
These are the rents.
the income stream based on the current condition, which this mailer does not represent.
Current physical condition.
Current physical condition, right.
Right.
So it was renovated, finished in 2018. The mailer that was provided here does not reflect a year's worth of renovated condition on it.
Okay.
But you use a model anyway.
It's modeled,
It's
but
modeled,
we
okay.
haven't captured the rentals.
But you haven't done a site-specific analysis of the financials as they were submitted to by the...
They aren't applicable to what we're looking at
Okay,
today.
and so you looked at these rent comps. Now you say that these rent comps support the model, is that correct?
Yeah, they're the buildings nearing them.
Okay, and you're aware that these are all part of the Granite Gate set of apartments?
Nope.
Okay, those are owned by Houston Properties. They're all renovated. They're well maintained. They're well known. They lead right up to Balmoral Hall. They're sort of
Are they investing in the area?
are they investing in the area?
Yeah, like if they're renovating all these.
I'm not sure when they're renovated, but I know that the Granite Gates apartments are generally of a higher standard in that area. That's I think we all agree on that. Oh, you mentioned a bike path behind this. It's called Cornish Path.
Yeah, I went by there one time.
Okay, is there an easement on this property then?
I don't know.
Okay, if there was an easement on this property, would that affect the fee simple interest in the ownership rights of this property?
I guess it could.
Right, okay. That's fair. Those are my questions, thank you.
Questions, Tracy?
No.
Diane? Marissa? On with your presentation.
Nice. 35 Balmoral Street. So again, we have an asset built in 1961 in the West Broadway area. So we are between the Assiniboine River and Balmoral Street, east of the Spence Street and Balmoral Street intersection. And the improvement is a 3-story building 61, presently being used as a multiple-family residential building. The site size is 11,760 square feet and it's zoned RMFM. We have 27 units, 3 bachelors, 18 one-bedrooms, and 6 two-bedroom units, and there is ample parking with 27 stalls. For the purpose of this assignment, the assessment department has modeled a capitalization rate of 5.3%. This is in dispute. We believe that an asset of this vintage ought to carry a cap rate of 6%, so we will apply that rate accordingly. Now, the assessor has used a modeled potential rent of $254,534. We are showing with a stabilizing 3 years of income that the potential is actually $216,843. Our vacancy sort of goes in peaks and valleys from almost nil to 2.5%. So we've accepted the assessor's 2.6 model vacancy rate in order to capitalize that vacancy into perpetuity. We pick up some extra revenue with laundry and parking. So in terms of our effective gross income, we are at $223,094, while the assessor is at $247,916. We have used our actual expenses. We've stabilized our repairs and maintenance at about $1,100 per suite, giving us an expense ratio of 51.4%, where the model is suggesting 53.9%. Our net operating income is thusly $108,330, where the assessment department suggests $114,388. When we capitalize our actual NOI with a 6% cap rate, we come to an indicated market value at the reference date of $1,805,498, rounded to $1,805,000. We respectfully submit that this board amend this assessment for this cycle to not exceed $1,805,000.
Thank you. Question?
On your breakdown here,
Yeah.
Do these years reflect the income and expenses of a fully renovated building?
Of a fully renovated building?
Yeah, based on its current condition.
I think this shows us it's the most typical year. Yeah, we've not used the average, so we've used what we'll call the new normal. But I don't think that just because you do some decorating, you're all of a sudden going to double the rents. That would be, you can't necessarily buy value. There's a top end to this market, and I think that potential gross rent is an appropriate rate. $254,000 is 20% higher than what we're seeing, so it would be out of whack.
It's got new elevators, mechanical systems, windows, and completely updated suites. Would you say that's decorating, or could there be more to it?
I think the elevator is not decorated, but I don't know what shape that was in to begin with. So,
Okay, those are my questions. Thanks.
Diane, questions?
No.
Tracy?
No question.
No questions. We're just moving along.
Better than a cup of water.
Do that. Next property on the agenda will be 41 Balmoral Road.
Okay. 41 Balmoral. Oops. So this is the other property. File number 19-2368, roll number 1209146800. So, building 62, no effective year, built on 29 suites, 30 outdoor parking spots, construction class C masonry, bare walls. So, it's the same story as last time. For this one, we are actually within $700 on the net operating income. So I'm not going to dwell on the...
You're up by $700 in your
Yeah, so 4 is our rent comparable. Same one. I use the same data for this one. we got a permit. Page 7. That's that August. Worth about $83,000. Interior, exterior, installing a furnace. Penthouse level, fresh air inside the building throughout the second and fifth floors. Install split AC. Existing window opening. They did some mechanical work. That's a permit for that. They replaced the windows also. On page 8, you'll see they spent $228,000 replacing 56 windows on different levels. And then we have our ad again on page 9, saying that it's been upgraded. So the mailer information on this property, which it looks like I didn't include. However, I have it here in my brief. It wouldn't be applicable to the current condition. We are looking at the income streams value as of April 1st, 2018, but in the current conditions. So granted that the work was completed after the reference date, the numbers wouldn't be applicable. So there's no effective age on this property. It needs to be inspected. Last go around, it was taken from $2,111,000 to $2,015,000. They use a 5.5 cap. We're at 5.3. That's my evidence. Next.
$2,015,000.
Yeah, 2015000.
Questions?
Yeah, just so we're clear, we're talking about the present physical condition, but the income stream at the reference date, correct?
The base, what the present physical condition, what that income stream would be. So the physical condition that the income shown on the 2017 mailer is not the physical condition it is now.
Okay, I think you're misinterpreting the legislation. That's not what it says. It says that we have to value the income stream at the reference date with consideration to the present physical condition, just so we're all clear on that.
Yeah, but the present physical condition...
We're not talking about the post-reference.
No, we're not, but we're looking at the present physical condition.
Right,
and these numbers,
right.
2017, do not reflect the present physical condition, and a purchaser wouldn't look at pre-reno numbers in coming up with an offer to buy the place.
The purchaser at the reference date would not be aware of the post-renovation numbers. That's exactly what we're talking about.
I know, it's kind of a weird thing, eh?
No, it's not, it's actually pretty clear. Okay, so 1962 is the actual year built, and the effective year is 1962 as well. That's correct? So no effective, no age variance on the
Should
building?
have one, though.
Okay, but there is not one, correct?
No.
Okay, and we're really just talking about the cap rate here. Now, you've included the brokerage studies again. Now, the brokers would suggest that at a minimum, this asset ought to carry, should, if it were investment grade, it very well may be, given its current fiscal condition. They suggest that the cap rate should be no lower than 5.75, ranging up to 6%. Is that correct? As per your evidence.
Well, based on what, one of them, CBRE?
Well, the other ones don't consider low-rise B multifamily in their studies, but if you want to talk about we can talk about Collier's 5 to 6, but this is again investment grade that'd be adjusted up. You've included this, so I'm saying that you're saying effectively that this asset should carry a cap rate of 5.75 to 6 based on your evidence, correct?
No.
Okay, those are my questions. Thank you.
Tracy?
No question.
Diane?
None.
Is this considered a rooming house?
A rooming house?
Yeah, it's on the permit, right? It says
Yeah.
rooming house. I'm not sure why that is.
What's the taxation on rules on a rooming house?
Where does it say
I
rooming?
think it's seen as
On the permit?
multifamily, I think. No.
Not really. Anybody got their act here? Got the act here?
It says previous tenant use was a dwelling multifamily,
Yeah.
now it says rooming house. See what you're saying?
Did they turn it into a rooming house?
I don't believe it's a room house.
I don't
They don't have a copy?
Well, I mean,
It's
I
a
have the
previous
trustee
use.
member office, I believe.
Sure, shut it off for a minute. We'll take a break. Lot cheaper rent. Okay, who was up there?
You were questioning.
I was
I
questioning.
was questioning,
I think I was.
you questioned him, so I was questioning, right?
Yeah.
Have you put your stuff forward?
Yes, I did, yeah.
Yes, we're questioning, you,
Right.
and you had already asked, so you're good. And you used, yeah. Good. Now we're done with it.
Okay.
Keep losing my paper clips. The next property on today's agenda will be 279 Sherbrooke.
Okay, oh, sure. Okay, 279 Sherbrooke, 19-2958. Roll number 12090577000. Not-for-profit, housing cooperative is the owner. Assessed value $2,264,000. It's a res app, built in 2009. One building, 4 stories, 24 suites.
You didn't go after the non-co-op on this? Oh, it's too late yet. June 12th is nothing there, is there?
Well, but who just submitted?
Well, no, it is submitted.
Yeah, let's submit.
Okay, there was extensions on the other ones, that's what I'm mixing it up with.
Yes.
Okay,
So if you go to page 2, you see their plan submitting.
yeah.
Modeled income value summary here is on page 3. So we've got 13 one-bedrooms, 7 two-bedrooms, and 4 three-bedrooms. 24 total units. Average monthly rent, $902.51. So with our model cap, we are coming out to an estimated market value of $2,264,000. If you go to page 4, you'll see rental comps in relation to the subject property. So our subject average monthly rent is bracketed by the rental comps. Our subject is newer. It was built in 2009. The rental comps are a combination of 1 and 2 bedroom units. Gross floor area per unit of the subject property is larger than that of the rental comps. Page 4A and 5 shows our cap rate. Evans. Page 7 shows a permit to build the place, 2008. It shows the value of the permit here at $3,969,232, which is a lot more than what we have this assessed for. We do apartments on income, so it's valued on income, but it is good to know what the place actually costs to build. So page 8 shows just description of the property. Compact 24 suite, 25,677 square foot urban housing co-op, Sherbrooke Street, downtown Winnipeg. At the bottom it says the $3.6 million project began construction 2008, occupancy of summer of 2000. Here we have the mailer. So again, not-for-profit housing. So we used just model parameters on it. I believe we are pretty close. I think we're within $1,500 on the NOI. We're a little bit higher. So predominantly, this is a cap rate issue. The rent roll begins on page 14. You see it's subsidized. The housing charges are subsidized. That's my evidence.
Mr. Story, questions?
Yes, thank you. Okay, now again, this is a not-for-profit, so this is a co-op?
Yeah.
So that's a little different, I guess, than the other social housing model that we looked at today?
Yeah, I think they have to buy. Do you have to buy shares or something?
I don't believe so. This is it's managed by committee, correct?
I don't know who manages it.
Okay. It's in your evidence. It says that, let's see here, it says on page, page 18, members collectively make decisions on the operation of their property.
Yeah, so it's run a little bit differently.
Okay.
We used to call those hostels.
Yes. Okay. All right. Now, so there's no consideration for this atypical management structure, ownership structure, or subsidized rents, and we can agree that we're not achieving any economic profit in this asset, correct?
Sorry, say that again?
We're not achieving any economic profit. Every rent in here, except for I believe one, is heavily subsidized.
Yeah, it's subsidized. It's not for profit.
Okay. But the model doesn't capture that.
No.
Do you think an investor would consider that?
Well, we're looking at its for-profit value here.
Right. And the history of the asset is something that the next most prudent purchaser would consider, correct?
Sorry, say that again?
The fact that this asset has not been achieving economic profit and has not been managed by professionals is something that might give a next prudent purchaser pause, is it not?
We're not valuing it as if it would be run that way. We're valuing it as there's an open market for-profit apartment based on its area and what kind of rents it could achieve on the open market.
So you're not considering the history of this
The model
asset?
doesn't consider that.
Okay. Do you think a purchaser would?
A purchaser?
Yeah.
If they were buying it to run it as a co-op, but for taxation purposes, it's for the for-profit.
Your rent comps, you're not too far off on RNOI, but I will suggest that those are the renovated heritage assets that Onyx owns and operates. They have a special little placard on the right at the entrances of all these buildings, so those are fully renovated. I would suggest, and those are not the actual years built. These are much older assets for the most part. They're built in the 20s, correct?
This is effective year build.
Right. Okay. Okay. So now let's just see here. Have you visited this property? You had a look at it?
No.
Okay. You're aware, though, in your evidence, you've included something interesting. I would suggest this building is atypical because it has a deck, which is facing onto an interior courtyard, and you access your suite through a deck as opposed to an interior corridor. Correct?
I've never been there.
Okay, but in your evidence it says the group prefers that all suites should have cross ventilation and be accessible by an exterior deck rather than closed corridors. So this was designed by committee, correct?
By who?
By committee. It says that the group, the collective design process. That's on page 8 of your brief.
Oh, okay. The group preferred that all suites should have cross ventilation.
And be accessible by an exterior deck rather than enclosed corridors. And you can see those exterior decks. And that would be more typical of a motel or something as opposed to an apartment, correct?
There's stairs in this place.
There's that's actually right here. There's I think there's an elevator too, right in here.
Yeah, there's an elevator in the hallway down this.
Oh, okay, but I know you enter here and then you get to your suite outside on a deck.
Yeah, it says entrance to the buildings through a gate from the street into the courtyard and up a central stair elevator off a common room.
Right, okay, with that, suggesting that design would be atypical for the market. Okay, and then one last thing. Page 19 of your brief, you've included this large photo so we can see the decks that we're talking about. And then we can also see this large barbed wire fence. Would you say that that's typical of a barbed wire fence?
Barbed wire fence?
Oh, there's barbed wire on top of it, yeah.
It's in your evidence.
Yeah, well, that's not typically.
So would that give you a sense of the neighborhood potentially, or would that give you some pause as an investor? If you saw barbed wire fence.
I'd be like, well, I'd certainly talk with somebody about it.
Okay, that's my question, thanks.
Just 1 second, there's more questions coming. Diane, go ahead.
I would just like to add, do you have the previous assessed value and the,
Oh.
what it was? When you went permit in 2008. What
It doesn't
the,
go by that.
I know, but we don't have the
The
assessed value.
previous assessed value,
I don't think it was.
I think, I have 2016, I think the appeal was somehow void in 2018, but 16 they dropped it from $2,114,000 to $1,823,000. I didn't mark down a cap for that.
Okay, thank you.
Tracy, any questions? You're good?
Wait a second, I'm all on this barbed wire fence.
I think they're illegal, actually, in the city.
I don't even know if that's on the subject property, is it?
Huh?
Is that even on the subject property?
You know, I haven't visited the subject property.
No, it's probably in the school next door.
Yeah, I'm thinking, oh, the school has a barbed wire fence, isn't that charming?
He was in jail next to me.
That's where the East Center is.
Because the barbed wire, the barbed wire is gone.
The barbed wire is put there to keep them in, not to go
Yeah,
out.
but if you look at the fence post where the property probably ends, there's no barbed wire.
Yeah, that's why I was asking.
Somebody
I
else's
don't think it
property.
belongs to the
No.
No,
subject
it doesn't
property.
look like it's on the appellant's.
Can't tell by the map either.
That could be a vacant lot that they're working on and they don't want people running around in.
I don't know.
I don't think so.
I'll leave it
You
alone.
don't see barbed wire fences downtown.
Not too, well, a few, but not too many. It's usually around the car lot.
Usually around Henry or CPR loading around a auto service or
You
something.
don't have a picture of it. Okay, on with your presentation, sir.
Okay. So this is 279 Sherbrooke Street. This is the Greenheart not-for-profit housing co-op. We're on the east side of Sherbrooke, just 1 block south of the Portage and Sherbrooke intersection. And again, this is in the West Broadway area. We've got a 4-story structure built in 2009. And again, it is being used as a multi-family housing co-op. I would suggest that it has a architecturally non-conforming design. It was established, it was designed by committee and may not be typical for the market. The city is suggesting a 2020 realty assessment of $2,264,000. We are instead requesting that the assessment be amended to $2,030,000. So we've got 24 units, 13 1-bedroom, 7 2-bedroom units, and 4 3-bedroom units with 10 parking stalls. So the assessor is using a capitalization rate of 5%. We are disputing this and suggesting the rate of 5% is more appropriate. And again, excuse me, that's a newer building. It's post-1998, it's 2009, so we recognize that. So we do provide an upward adjustment to account for the fact that this is falls under the purview of social housing. Okay, it's subsidized and it's a co-op. So, okay, we are using rents in place, though they are subsidized. We're not too far off. Where we start to diverge where the point of contention is, I suppose, is on the cap rate. We're suggesting an NOI of $111,637. The assessor is suggesting $113,215. And when we capitalize our NOI with a 5.5 cap, we come to an indicated market value of $2,029,763. So for the 2020 assessment cycle, we respectfully submit that this assessment ought not to exceed $2,030,000. Thank you very much.
Questions?
Yeah. Does the repair and maintenance, in comparison to 2013 and 2014, given the age of the property, in comparison to 15 to 17, does that seem a little bit high to you?
Yeah, it seems high. We've stabilized it at 1681. Seems reasonable. Social housing generally tends to have higher repairs and maintenance. So, $1,681 per suite doesn't seem out of the range. We have stabilized it. We've used 13 to 17 to flatten out those two anomalous years in 15 and 16.
So just in relation to the R&Ms, in the properties to use in your cap rate study, would they be similar to?
We wouldn't use social housing for the purposes of creating a cap rate study because they are, presumably you would be using it in a vacancy study or a rental rate study, right? They're a different asset. They tend to have higher repair and maintenance costs. Again, this is also an asset that's not professionally managed. It's managed by the co-op, by committee. So it would not be surprising to anyone that the R&M would be higher for a newer building, but if it's a social housing.
Okay, so then if somebody purchased it and they were running it on a more typical basis, would there be less R&M?
So are we debating our NOI?
Well, no. What I'm just saying is that
we're less than 1% off.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying.
Expenses.
I'm just saying that.
Yeah.
I think I heard you say that it wasn't surprising that the R&M.
Well, we've stabilized it, right?
Yeah, it just seems a lot higher than. I think you said that it's higher because it's run as a co-op, or we're looking at it as a
It was
for-profit
designed
basis.
by committee based on their specific desires. It's not a typical apartment building. If you're there and have seen it, you'd know this. It's got an exterior catwalk kind of thing. It's atypical. So the fact that its repairs and maintenance are slightly higher than average that seems completely logical to me. And again, we're not particularly far off on our NOI, and our ratio is within 1 percentage point. So
Those are my questions. Thanks.
Diane?
No.
Tracy?
No, thank you.
Can we take a few-minute break? I had two of them were protecting my car last week. We're going to move on to 100 Yonge Street. But I must say, I do like to see this, people fixing these houses, building new houses. It's about time. When you're ready, Matthew.
Okay. Okay, file number 19-3203, 100 Yonge Street, roll number 12090966000. It's an apartment, one building, 2 stories, 1951, 1970 on the effective year built. Number of suites 21, 13 outdoor parking spots. Zoning R2, construction class D, wood or steel framed walls. You see they've been good at handing in the mailers lately. Page 3 shows our model income value summary. So we've got 8 bachelor, 13 one bedroom, and 21 for the 21 units. So this time we are at 1,763,000. Last go around it was 1,818,000, and they cut it down to 1,476,000, and they used a 5.5 cap.
Sorry, can you say that for the first number again?
Okay.
1 million?
They cut it from 1,818,000
okay.
down to 1,476,000, and they used a 5.5 cap on it. So this time around we're at a 5.3 cap, so very similar. We have gross potential rent as 190,000, 245, 2.6% vacancy rate. Their 49.5% expense ratio. That's how our value is calculated. So our comps, page 4. Taken from around taken from the adjacent properties. They're higher than the subject property in terms of rent. However, some of them do have well, number 1 has 15 2-bedrooms. Our subject has none. There's also bachelors in our subject. But rent comparables 2 to 4. They also have bachelor in them. So the comps are right on the street there. Our average monthly rent is below all of them. Cap rate evidence, page 4A and page 5. Then we get to the mailers. So the mailers, so page 7, you'll see that they're showing they received 145,222 with a potential of 158,109, which is a lot lower than what our model is kicking out. We're at 190. So if you look at their 2016 mailer on page 12, they're saying that they received 160, and they didn't even, I don't believe I have the page here that tells the potential. So again, a lot lower.
You do have it. Look again.
Oh, sorry. No, that is for 17.
Yeah.
And then for 16, there's no page that says the 16 potential on it.
Residential 198, 140.
That's for the 15 mailer.
Doesn't have a date.
That's a 16 mailer.
That is a due date of April 29th, 2016.
Yeah, that's the 15.
That's the 15 mailer. So it's saying that they received 198,140. And if you go to page 16,
I got 160,000.
we're on page 14 right now. So they're saying they received 198,000. And that's including, if you go to page 15, they had 11,000 vacancy and almost 10,000 bad debt. They're saying on page 16 that for 2015, their potential income is 199,000. So that's a big difference than 2016 and 2017. So I don't know what's going on with this property, why the income there is, why the potential income they're stating is so much lower. Page 17 says there's a permit in 2007 for some repairs. New windows, entry doors, suite doors of the same size, styrofoam insulation stuck going around the exterior, repairing the roof. So it seems that there's abnormalities when you look at this property on a year-to-year basis. So why the potential income would be 20% higher 2 years prior to the most two recent years, 16, 17, I'm not sure. We just use model parameters on this one. That's my best thing.
Question?
Yeah, just a couple. Okay. All right, so we had mentioned Granite Gates before. Are you familiar that this is one of the Granite Gates assets?
I'll take your word for it.
It's the Century. There's the Century, then there's the food store, and then there's the Huntley. They're all in a row there. Okay, so all of your inputs on page 3 are modeled, is that correct?
Yes.
And again, no adjustment for location, or this is all, the model cap rate is all based on age and size?
Location, age, and size.
Location, age, and size, but no locational adjustment for this area?
Not specifically, no.
Okay. All right. Now, not to dwell too much on this, but you've got the first rental comp on page 4 is 92 Young. That's also a Granite Gates. That's part of that collection. Do you know what the vacancy is in that building?
No.
Okay. Now, do you know the vacancy in any of these comps?
No, I just picked the comps that were on the street. I didn't have a chance to inspect them or time to review them.
You didn't review them?
No. I saw that they fit in regards to the average monthly rent. We're on the lower end of it. And by age and suite composition, they look like they look similar.
Right. Okay. So, well, let's get this. When we're looking at rents, isn't it also important to factor in things like vacancy, R&M? You can't isolate rents without considering those other factors because they're all functions of one another, are they not? Would you agree with that?
These are just to justify the average monthly rent.
Would you agree that higher rent might lead to a higher vacancy rate? Lower rent might lead to a lower
Yeah, if the
vacancy
market, if the market doesn't have the demand for that, then yeah, the vacancy rate would be higher.
So isolating these rents without giving us any sense of the repairs and maintenance or the vacancy doesn't really give much of a picture for us, does it?
Well, I know when we review mailers, if there are expenses that are abnormal or there's a vacancy that is extremely high, we don't include those mailers to be inputted into our model,
Okay.
so they wouldn't be included.
But you didn't review these?
No.
Did the model select these comps?
Yes.
Okay. So it's just that there's something wrong. 85 Young, that's I think that's the first Granite Gates building. It's literally called 85 on Young, and it's connected to 75 Young. And there's a sort of we should call it a sort of metal archway type thing that says Granite Gates, and they are twin buildings. They're exactly the same. They effectively form one economic unit. Now, I know that area and I know those two buildings. So they both have 21 units. They both have 10 bachelor suites. They both have, they're virtually identical. If you go down the line between comps 2 and comp 3, they're virtually identical. Correct?
Yeah.
Okay, but the one thing that's not identical is the average monthly rent per unit.
Yeah.
And it's the same economic asset, so how could that possibly be?
They must have reported different rent stubs.
Okay. All right. That's fine. Again, pointing out that the broker studies that you included here suggest nothing lower than 5.5, that's investment grade. I would suggest this is investment grade, but this would likely be called a B, so the brokers would likely call this a 5.75 to a 6 cap. Do you agree based on the evidence that you've submitted today?
There should be 5.5?
Based on the broker studies that you've submitted, that it should be, well, we consider a low-rise B based on location. I would suggest that it should be a 5.75 to a 6 cap.
We don't go by the brokers, we go by us, and we're 5.3.
Okay, we include the brokers, that's fine. Are you familiar with the principle of regression?
Regression?
The principle of regression and valuation theory, are you familiar with that?
Could you elaborate on that?
I'm asking if you're aware of it.
I'm not sure what you mean by that.
The principle of regression states that a higher valued asset will have its value dragged down by surrounding assets if they're lower quality. That's why they always say buy the cheapest house in the best neighborhood. That'd be the principle of progression. Are you not familiar with that concept?
Makes sense.
Okay. Those are my questions. Thank you.
Dave.
No questions.
Tracy.
No questions.
So you got the rents at $754, correct? On this one?
Yes.
Why'd you go so low?
Why I go so low on the rent?
Yeah.
That's what the model assigned it.
There's nothing in the ones you brought forward that brings it down that low again.
Well, these are the comps
These
that
are the
are
comps.
on the street,
Yeah.
like right on the street. Those aren't the only comparables that would have been looked at. These are just 4 examples of the neighboring properties.
Did you investigate any of the high expenses in the years 2017? 75%. 2015 to 17.
Oh, in terms of looking at the overall
Yeah.
expenses to effective gross income?
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing under 57%, 57, 64, 66. Looks like they're doing some renovations or something.
I mean, I haven't inspected it, so I can't comment on that.
Sort of opens your eye to say, maybe I should take a look at this building, doesn't it?
I think so, yeah. I mean,
When you see that.
the last one, 57?
Tells you there must have been some vacancies for some reason in 18,
063
when you
divided.
look at their gross income.
Yeah, that's 2717 per
Yeah.
unit on their most recent year.
Then looking at the 18, May 3rd, 2018, the NOI is down to 32,000 that they're reporting, and they're showing rents of 145,000. These people usually take pretty good care of their places.
Very good care of the places. May I say, the area, it's, when we look at these, this high cost, I've done a number of these down this exact stretch. You have to factor that there's also graffiti removal, there's broken windows, there's things like that. This I would suggest that this is not a neighborhood that would be atypical. There's a lot of, there's a lot of maintenance that goes into these properties based on the location. This backs onto Lang side. Say this is a troubled spot. That's probably.
Well, let's hear your presentation on it, and
Thanks.
we'll go from there.
Okay.
Maybe I'll have some more questions for you.
Sure.
Okay. This one opens up the questions.
Okay. So 100 Yonge Street, built in 1970, again part of the Granite Gates collection. 2.5-story asset with 8 bachelor suites and 13 one-bedrooms. The city is suggesting that this assessment be increased by 20% over the last cycle. We're saying that's not appropriate. The 2020 assessment was $1,763,000. We are here to request today a value of $1,170,000. Okay, so
What did you say the assessment was?
the current assessment
Yeah.
is $1,763,000.
I thought it was $1.8 million, you said.
Oh, that was in 2018, I was just giving
Current
it
is
a
$1,763,000.
knockdown wrong.
Yeah, okay. So you brought it down from there.
And we are suggesting that the value ought to be $1,170,000. Site size is 12,807 square feet, zoned R2, and we have 21 units again, 13 one-bedrooms, 8 bachelors. Okay. So for the purpose of this exercise, the assessment department is modeling a cap rate of 5.3%. We are suggesting that that's not appropriate and instead apply a rate of 6%. So now we're going to talk about the R&M, I suppose. We've stabilized that at $16.62 per suite. I think that does capture the realities of the neighborhood and the fact that this owner keeps very good care of these buildings. And I would suggest that the principal regression is probably at play here. These are the top end of the multifamily assets in this area. And I don't think that I think that they suffer from some of the surrounding assets. So when we capitalize our net operating income of $70,181 with a 6% cap, we come to $1,169,686. We've rounded that to an indicated market value of for 2020 of $1,170,000, and we request respectfully that the board amend that assessment for this tax cycle. Thank you.
Matthew, questions?
For R&M, you included the two most recent years. You didn't take into consideration the 3 years prior to, rather the 2 years, prior to, like, you didn't take into consideration 13 or 14?
Well, if you look on the note in the ledger under remarks, we've used the average of 15 and 16.
What page do you have that on?
Oh, that's on my workup. Sorry,
Yeah.
that's on page 6. It's not numbered, but it's
Okay.
my income workup. So yes, we recognize that the expenses are very high in 17. You can see that they average out over that year period, which we would generally tend to use to 42. We've said that's too high. We've used 34, and that is inclusive of 2015 and 16. So those would be typical years. So it makes sense that in 13 and 14 we were in and around 31,000. That increases in 15 to 33, increases yet again in 16 to 35. We've stabilized that at 34,907, resulting in 1,662 per suite. And that seems appropriate.
Did you inspect this property?
I've not been inside it, but I've been outside of it a number of times.
Just one more question. So for 2015, what you have here says that for effective gross rent, you've got $138,140. On the 2015 mailer, they said $198,140.
And you're not counting vacancy or collection loss or bad debt with that, though, right?
Well, I'm just commenting what you. Yeah, I'm not counting those things.
Okay. And you do recognize that there's a great deal of vacancy, collection loss, and bad debt in this property?
Well,
It's atypically high. I'm not sure why that is, but that's their report high.
but you marked down 138,140, and it says 198,140.
Let's see here. Sorry, what you're referencing is
2015 mailer.
mailer. Okay. 16, 35.
Page 14.
14?
Is that what you're looking at?
That's 14. The assessor's brief?
Oh, sorry.
I'm on his
Sorry.
brief, but it's my page 14.
Yeah.
Here's Assessor's Street.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure why that is. That does seem high. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Okay, those are my questions, thanks.
Thanks.
Tracy.
Can you come back to me, please?
Sure, Cheyenne.
I just want to check something.
Take your time. I'm gonna just jump ahead of you guys a little.
Go ahead.
Why are they dropping? The revenues are going from 190,000 down to 158,000. What's causing that?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'd have to investigate that. I don't know. I'd be speculating. I'm not sure.
Do you know if they've done any renovations in the past year? That would have affected?
Not that I'm aware of. No, nothing that was in our file, which likely would have been captured, so I'm not sure. I don't know.
But usually when we see rents go down like this, is it not usually because they're doing some renovations, they gotta
Yeah,
leave them
can-
empty for a while and then
Or to backfill
refill them up, backfill them up?
Occasionally, yeah, occasionally that would be the case.
I mean, this is a big drop. We're talking $40,000.
Right, yeah, but we are using
80.
153.9, so, yeah, no, I agree. It's atypical. There's something going on, but I will have to look at it to be certain.
I think both sides take a look at this one.
I would,
Dan?
yeah, I would agree with you on the 198,140 to the 138,140.
Yeah, I'm not
Is
sure.
there a typo or something like?
That's what I'm guessing, but I,
Yeah,
again,
and
I'm
which one
guessing.
would be the right answer in the
Yeah.
calculation? Because if we're calculating using what potentially is a typo of
But
138, it
it wouldn't,
changes.
it wouldn't make sense that it's, I think it's a miscalculation on the mailer. I don't think it's a
Yeah, I'm
typo
not
here.
sure.
I don't think that in 15, for it to be generating an effective gross rent of 190 would be atypical. So I will investigate to be certain.
And that was it for me too. I was just looking, trying to marry the numbers on all the mailer and the
Yeah,
statements and
I can't put the numbers together from the mailer, so it doesn't make any sense.
kind of all over the map.
Yeah, and these people take good care of buildings, so you don't usually see these numbers.
Well, they're spending, 100,000 almost a year
Yeah.
in repair, maintenance, et cetera, so they're doing some work, but
Mhm. But I don't see any capital.
exactly.
Even no new permits, 07 was the last one.
Yeah.
These are discussions we'll have after they're gone, guys.
Fair enough.
Now it's your turn for your presentation, right?
No,
No, he's done.
We're done?
We're done.
Next property, excuse me, I'm yawning away.
Don't do that, because you're going to get us all going.
I know, I need some caffeine, but I won't sleep.
Last night, we did that last night. Let's move to the last property of 587 Broadway.
Okay, so,
When you're ready, Matthew.
yeah, okay. All right, file number 19-3504, roll number 12091221000, 587 Broadway, assessed value 810,000. Last go around, it was 703,000, and I dropped it to 673. I don't have a cap marked down for that unless I got the old order, but it was reduced to 673 last time. So 1955, no effective year built on it. 12 suites, 6 outdoor parking spots. Wood or steel frame walls. The appellant and I are within $1,000 in regards to NOI, so I'm not going to belabor
It's all
it.
cap rate.
It's all cap rate, obviously. On Broadway, between Spence and Balmoral, the neighborhood we've been talking about here. So, as per age, area, and size, it's a 5.1 cap as assigned by our model. Comps are on page 4. Because the NOI were so close, I'm not going to really dig into them for the purpose of everyone's time. Page 7 just shows exterior of the property here. based on an ad I found. Page 9 shows pictures that were in the ad, and they only had 2 pictures, and there's 3 pictures, and 2 of them were shots of the kitchen. I wish there was more in regards of bathrooms and windows and everything, but this is what I had. It looks like second picture on page 10. The flooring may have been replaced, but it just looks like vinyl. It looks like just basic finishes in there, nothing over the top. So for, again, net operating income, we're super close. Gets 5.1 as per age, area, and size. That's my biggest thing.
Questions?
Yes, okay, so we can agree we're about $900 away on the NOI, so I don't belabor that. We're looking at the cap rate at this point. And the overall value. Now, this building is 63 years old, but a substantial improvements at the reference date, is that correct?
Oh, okay, then.
55 to 18.
Well, we don't have an effective age put on it. The pictures show that they've done some work, but again, I only have 2 interior pictures.
You said those are,
From the ad, I don't know what it looks like other than those 2 pictures.
but that looks like decorating, that's not work to the structure.
I wouldn't say decorating. It looks like they replaced the kitchen cabinets and the countertops and did some floor.
Okay, and you're suggesting that that would extend the physical life of the building?
I would say that it would, in terms of attractiveness for tenants, those are components that do wear out, so they do, once they reach that point, have to be replaced. But not, like, we're not talking like the foundation or the bones.
You're talking about suspending the effective gross income, not extending the physical life of the asset, correct?
Not the physical structure.
Okay, and it's Class D construction?
Yes.
Okay. And so you're suggesting a 20% increase over last cycle, does that seem appropriate to you?
Well, I mean, they cut it last time. That wasn't the number that we were putting forward.
Now, the city in the valuation manual for income-producing properties suggests that suite mix is a potential impediment to value. This has 12 one-bedroom suites. Do you think that's an optimal suite mix, or good suite mix, or do you think that would be not optimal?
I think it fits the neighborhood.
Fits the neighborhood. Okay. And the cap rate of 5.1, again, that's model generated?
Yeah, it's all model generated.
All model generated, okay. But the purpose of this assignment is to do a site-specific analysis, but you're relying on the model, just so I'm clear, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Great. Just a point one, you've got a seniors home in your rent comps, are you aware of that?
No.
Yeah.
Which one's that?
294 Colony, that's the Keystone Seniors retirement home.
224?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just make note of that, if you don't mind. Now again, I've been mentioning that we are within line roughly with the brokers. Now they have, they veer slightly from us because they are using investment grade properties, but you've included the brokers table here, and that they would suggest that this, if this were an investment grade property, it ought to carry a cap rate of the low end 5 3/4 and 6%. Is that correct?
That's what CBR
That's what the
is.
broker
That's
is
just
saying.
what one broker is saying, but we don't go by them. We go by us. We get all the mailers from all the properties in the city.
Okay, are you suggesting that CBRE is incorrect?
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right. That's fair. Now, and again, just to reiterate, you're suggesting that this location wouldn't give an investor pause, given everything we've learned today. Higher than average crime, lower than average incomes. It's a high mobility rate according to the census. A lot of people moving in and out. Would that not pose a threat to the durability of the income stream going forward in the mind of the prudent investor?
The durability.
The predictability, the principle of anticipation, anticipating future rents.
Well, I mean, looking at your work up here, We got 3 years of, well, 1 year's 0 vac, one is 2.1, the other one's 2.4. So,
With the cap rate,
but I mean vacancy as
the
a
average rent is
function.
$577, so lower rents leads to lower vacancy, right? These are functions of
Well,
another.
we're talking about pause, right? You know, so I mean, they'd look at that and say, well, it looks like we got a good demand for this property. It's in line with the market, 2.6. The rent is a function of its location.
Okay, so for a prudent investor, you think that a cap rate of 5.1 is appropriate?
Yeah, that's what the models assign.
Okay, thank you very much. That's my question.
Diane,
None.
Tracy,
No, sir.
so do you think there'd be more buyers for this one because of the size, the price, the location? That would help bring the cap rate down?
More buyers for this one? I mean,
Yeah, because you're under the million. That's
the
usually.
doors might be open to more people in terms of availability of the money to go ahead and get in the front door.
Banks would look more favorably at a 5.1 than they would a 6.25, wouldn't they? You were the one talking
I
banks.
don't think an appraiser for a bank would put a 5.1 cap on this asset. That's my sense. And just for the record, I don't think that the brokers are incorrect. Those are real world.
Well, you can put that in your presentation.
Yeah, it's plenty there.
I'm good. On with the presentation.
Thank you. Okay, 587 Broadway, built in 1955, effective date is 1955, and we do not have any substantial alterations or renovations to change its effective remaining economic life. The city is suggesting an assessment of $810,000. We are saying that a value of $647,000 more accurately reflects the economic reality of this asset. Site size is 6,117 square feet, and it's zoned C2. And again, the subject has what we'll call a non-optimal suite mix of 12 one-bedroom units. Okay. For the purpose of this report, the assessor is using a cap rate of 5.1%. We're disputing this and saying that a cap rate of 6.25% is more appropriate, as evidenced by our Yalta's cap rate study. So again, we're not too far off in terms of our NOI or our expense ratio. We are at $40,415 for the NOI, and the city is modeled $41,320. Where we differ is on the cap rate. So of course the city is using a 5.1 cap, and we are saying that a 6.25 cap is more appropriate, giving us an indicated market value at the reference date of $646,646, rounded to $647,000. So we would suggest that for the purposes of the 2020 Realty Assessment Cycle, the asset ought to be valued at no more than $647,000. Thank you very much.
Questions?
Yeah. On your workup here, I know you stabilized repair and maintenance at $1,024. In my opinion, that's pretty reasonable. It's $1,024 per unit. However, in 2017, you got the year that it's almost 70,000, 69,978, which is 5,831 per unit. Do you have any details in regards to what they did recently?
No, but what I can see there is that we don't have any increase in rents. So I'm not sure that what they've done has created any sort of increased demand for the asset. So no, I don't know. I guess we'll be talking about that in the next cycle.
Could it be possible that because we're looking at current condition and they renovated, they spent a lot on R&M, that perhaps based on the current condition, the rent would be higher?
Yeah, okay, so this is the theme of the evening. The present, we're talking about the rents in place, the income stream. We're valuing the income stream in place at the reference date, correct?
We're looking at the income stream based on the current condition at the reference.
No, we're looking at the income stream and the present physical condition. That's what the act says, right? So are you asking me if this building is in, if its condition is what?
Well, I'm like, I see like you stabilized for the R&M, but I mean, if they did a whole bunch of work renovating the place, wouldn't the rents go up?
I'm not sure if this is a capital, like if they did work on the roof, do you think that would increase the rents?
Oh, no, but we don't know what it is. It just,
Right. So that's why we've stabilized it, right? What we're doing is we're creating a most typical year, and we're looking at this the way that a prudent, profit-minded investor would look at it. So they're not going to say, well, we're going to spend $102,000 per year in R&M going forward. And this is sort of a moot point because you're at 53.9% on your expense ratio, and we're at 53. So it seems like we've stabilized it to capture the reality. So I'm not sure. Are you suggesting that they've done something to increase the rents by $125? Any good chance?
no, I'm just trying to get a handle on the current condition. If they spent $5,800 per unit leading up to the reference date, maybe they did mechanical work, which would bring the utilities down, or they would get perhaps an RTV bump. I don't know. I don't know what this place is. All I know is that I know you didn't include it. Like you stabilized. It seems that you might like you stabilized for R&M just fine.
Well, it looks like the gas bill went down, and we did use the most current year.
Yeah.
So I mean, perhaps that's what you're getting at. I'm not sure.
No, but I mean, if this was going over, the course of the entire year, maybe the current condition's a bit nicer than what the income in place is showing.
But we can all agree that this building is from 1955, and older buildings have higher repair and maintenance costs in general. Would you say that's a generally true statement?
The older it gets, yeah.
If you're an investor and you're looking at a property, and an asset is approaching the end of its useful economic life, would you not increase the cap rate?
You might renovate it too.
I think you would see more risk in an older property than a brand new property, would you not?
You could see an opportunity as well.
Would you generally, if you were buying, we're not talking about a conversion, we're not talking about buying an economic opportunity, we're talking about valuing the rents in place and maintaining the underlying real estate asset, right? That underlying real estate asset is going to get more and more expensive to carry as we go forward if we're going to contend these rents. Is that not correct?
Yeah, and if you spend $70,000 in 1 year, that might go down, and the rents probably go up.
If you fix the roof, do you think the rents are going up?
If you redo all the interiors, you think the rents are going up?
Potentially, but we don't see that here, do we?
Okay. I think we should check this one out too. So those are my questions, thank you.
Diane?
I do have a question. So if you're saying effective date, what effective date would you give this building?
As far as we can see, we don't see any permits, we don't see any work done to the exterior, to the foundation, to the bones of the building. So I think the building is true to its vintage. It's from 1955.
And you're stuck on the 6.25
Oh, you're always stuck on it, just what you said, you want to talk about it.
with no budget.
Pardon me, Tracy?
Just for your knowledge, your brief says there's an effective age of 75, not 55.
Oh, that's likely a typo. I don't think anybody's.
It's typos, Judith.
Oh, come on, that's one.
Two now.
Is it two?
Yeah, the 1.98 or the 1.3.
103, that's right.
Yeah.
I apologize.
It's okay, we can beat you up for it.
Well, that would make a difference, wouldn't it?
It would, but Jared, I guess you just did site-specific on this one, so you just didn't bring us any comps on the rents, right?
No, we're using the actual rents in place.
What did you think of the comps the city got, other than you said one of the senior homes?
Sure, yeah, I've got notes on them. So we'll grab you okay. Well, they're all, okay, so, all right. 250 Furby is a full reno. I looked at that and I saw the photos today.
Full rental?
From what I could see, yeah, I would say that that's far superior. That's what I have in my notes.
No, that was from pictures, right?
That's from pictures.
What did you see in those pictures?
I saw that they were actually-
Kitchens?
The whole space was renovated. I actually, my thought was that it was probably super adequate for the neighborhood. The one on Armour is, it's been in the news. That's, so I was.
Armour?
Yeah, sorry, the Armour property, 211 Furby.
211, yeah.
Yeah, that was, it has some issues that were reported on in the media.
Yeah. They were taken care of.
Fair enough, that's just what the first thing that came up when I typed the address, and I was very surprised. Keystone Seniors, that's
You said that's in good condition though, whether,
211 Furby.
yeah.
From what I saw, I would say it's not good.
Oh, it's not in good condition. They still got to rent a 672.
Well, I would dig into that, but we weren't fighting rents, so I didn't.
Okay.
I let that be. Oh, and then, yeah, of course, 224 Colony is a seniors retirement home.
Yeah. So just leave that one out.
Yeah. And then I noticed that 214 Furby was relatively similar, but I did notice that its assessment dropped from the last cycle to this cycle, but I don't know why. It's not, we don't have files on it. It doesn't appear to be our client, so I don't know if that was by appeal or.
Still got a nice rent though, 747.
Sure, yeah.
The pictures, there's 3 pictures of your property here. I mean, the kitchen's been done. But you don't know if the rest of the building's been done.
No, I don't.
Usually when they do this, they don't just do one.
No, of course not.
They usually buy some packages.
No, but I don't think this was, I think this was done, hold on. Do you know when those were done?
This was just from the ad I found in
Yeah.
preparation for this.
Yeah, I don't know that those are recent. I think those are probably indicative of the last 3 years. They don't seem to be newly renovated, so I'm not sure.
They say 1 bedroom starting at 740.
Sure, but there's also rental discounts. There's discounts, there's vacancies, so I'm not sure.
But even the assessment department had it only at 600 and something.
Right, and we're not, well, hold on.
So if it's 740, the reason I say that is if it's at 740 and they're advertising it, does that not tell you it's probably in pretty good shape? Usually?
Sure, I mean, it's, yeah, that's fine, but, well, 740, that's, I'm not sure, are you suggesting that's a high rent for this property?
It gets good with the comparables at that rent.
Yeah, then we're not arguing rent, as we've established, we're
Well,
$800.
there's still 4,000 apart there. I mean, you had that 4,000 onto yours, right?
We're using the actual rents as submitted by the owner, so that's what they're achieving. And it looks like if there was a reno that's recent, that's captured in the financials, the rents are what they are. And we've used the most current year, which is also the highest rent, so that seems appropriate. And then the 2.6 vacancy, that's roughly what we see as a citywide average that's captured.